My parents used me like an ATM and secretly spent $35,000 on a family cruise, so I pulled one move. And watched their dream collapse overnight. My 28-year-old male parents' 25th anniversary was coming up, and they'd been talking about it for months. Nothing specific, just mentioning how they wanted to do something special. I figured they'd go to a nice restaurant, maybe take a weekend trip to the mountains or something. They're not exactly the vacation type. Most years they can barely afford Christmas presents, especially with my brother Carter, a 25-year-old male, still living at home and draining whatever's left in their bank account. But apparently, I was wrong about that. It's literally the day before their anniversary trip. I'm working from home, just minding my own business. My apartment is quiet, I've got my coffee, everything's good. Then my phone rings, and it's my mom. She's all excited and talking fast, which is normal for her when she's happy about something. She starts going on about how they're leaving first thing in the morning for their cruise. How she's been packing all day. How she can't wait to relax on the beach. I'm half listening because honestly, good for them. They work hard, and they deserve a vacation. I figured they'd saved up some money or put it on a credit card or something. Not my business. Then she says something that makes me look up from my computer. "Oh, sweetie, we forgot to book you a flight." I literally stopped typing like my fingers just froze over the keyboard. "What flight?" I asked. "For the cruise, honey. We forgot to book your flight to Miami." And that's when this weird feeling hit me in my stomach, like when you're a kid and you realize all your friends are at a birthday party you weren't invited to. They planned this whole family trip and just forgot about me. I tried to play it cool because I didn't want to sound like a whiny little brother. "Oh, no worries. I'm swamped with work anyway. Probably couldn't have made it." "Really? Oh, good. I was worried you'd be upset about missing it." Missing it, like I knew about it in the first place. But then she said something that made my blood pressure spike. "Well, thank you for the trip in advance, honey. It means so much to your father and me." I swear I thought I misheard her. "What do you mean?" "Well, you paid for it." I'm sitting there staring at my computer screen trying to process what she just said. "I paid for what?" "The cruise, sweetie. You paid for the whole family cruise." My brain kind of short-circuited for a second. "Mom, I didn't pay for any cruise. I don't know what you're talking about." And then she starts explaining like she's talking to a confused child how they booked this amazing cruise for the whole extended family. My aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone. 7 days in the Caribbean. Nice rooms, fancy dinners, shore excursions. "We told everyone you wanted to pay for it as a thank you for supporting your education," she says, like this is totally normal. I'm sitting there trying to make sense of this. "You told people I was paying for a family vacation without asking me?" "Oh, honey, we knew you wouldn't mind. You're doing so well with your job, and it's just family." "Just family. Just $30,000 plus for 20 people to go on a luxury cruise." Here's the thing though, I've been their safety net for years. Not huge amounts, but like when their car needs repairs and they don't have the $800, guess who gets the call? When Carter needs startup capital for whatever scheme he's running that week, guess who's supposed to help out the family? When they're short on rent because they spent too much on vacation, guess who covers the difference? I'm not saying I minded helping out their family, right? And they did raise me, put me through school, all that stuff. But looking back, I probably gave them close to $15,000 over the past few years just in random emergencies and loans that somehow never got paid back. So when my mom is telling me about this cruise like I already knew about it, I'm starting to get that sinking feeling. You know, the one when you realize you're about to get screwed and there's nothing you can do about it. I asked her how much this whole thing cost, and she got all vague and dismissive. "Don't worry about the details, sweetie. We know you can afford it. You've been so successful." That's when I knew I was screwed. When someone won't tell you how much something costs, it's because they know you can't afford it. "Mom, I need you to tell me exactly how much money we're talking about here." "Owen, it's not about the money. It's about family. It's about showing everyone that we raise successful children who take care of their parents." And there it was. This wasn't about their anniversary. This wasn't about a family vacation. This was about showing off to people they barely talk to the rest of the year. I hung up and immediately grabbed my phone to check my credit card app. My hands were actually shaking as I opened it because I knew what I was about to find. And sure enough, there it was. A whole list of charges from Royal Caribbean. But it's not just one charge. It's like 15 different transactions spread out over the past month. Small ones, big ones, all adding up to something that made my stomach drop. $34,847. I'm sitting there just staring at this number trying to make it make sense, like maybe there's a decimal point I'm missing or something. But no, it's real. And when I click on the details, it gets even worse. 4 penthouse suites at $800 per night each for 7 nights. That's already over $22,000 just for rooms. But they didn't stop there. Shore excursions in every port, snorkeling in Cozumel, ziplining in Jamaica, some private beach thing in the Bahamas. Each excursion is like $150 per person, and we're talking about 20 plus people here. Then there's the specialty dining packages. You know how cruise ships have those fancy restaurants that cost extra? They booked every single one, the steakhouse, the sushi place, the French restaurant, even some chef's table experience that cost $200 per person per meal. But here's the part that really got me. They booked some kind of VIP experience add-on. I had to Google what this even was. Turns out it's like a concierge service where they basically treat you like celebrities, priority boarding, private deck access, personal butler service, the works. This thing alone was $500 per room per day. I'm reading through all this stuff, and I realized they didn't just book a vacation. They booked the kind of vacation that millionaires take, like this is the stuff you see in movies when rich people go on cruises. And the worst part, I found the original confirmation emails in my inbox. They'd been using my email address for everything. I scrolled through and saw booking confirmations going back almost 2 months. 2 months. They'd been planning this elaborate fantasy vacation for 2 months and never once thought to mention it to the person who was supposedly paying for it. I called the cruise line immediately. Had to sit through like 10 minutes of hold music before I got a real person. Hi, I'm calling about a booking under my name. Sure, let me pull that up. Oh, yes, the Caribbean Celebration Package. That's quite an impressive booking you have there. I almost laughed. Impressive was one word for it. Yeah, about that. I think there might be some kind of mistake. I never made this booking. There was a pause. I'm sorry, sir, but our records show this was booked using your credit card information and your email address. The contact phone number we have on file, is that your number? She read off my parents' home phone number. No, that's not my number. Look, I think someone used my information without permission. Oh my, sir. Are we talking about identity theft here? Turns out the booking was made over several phone calls. The first one was about 2 months ago when they reserved the rooms. Then they kept calling back to add stuff. Each time they used my name and card information but gave my parents' phone number as the contact. The lady on the phone was actually really understanding about it. She said, this kind of thing happens more than you'd think. Family members using each other's cards without permission. She called it family fraud, which I guess is a real thing. But here's where it gets interesting. Because everything was booked under my name with my card, and I'm the one calling to report it as unauthorized, they had to flag the entire booking as potentially fraudulent, which means nobody was getting on that ship until it got sorted out. After I hung up with the cruise line, I started looking at the other charges. And then I found the worst part. There was a charge for something called Surprise Anniversary Enhancement Package. I had to call the cruise line back to find out what this was. Turns out they'd arranged for my parents to renew their vows on the ship. Full ceremony with flowers, photographer, champagne reception for the whole family. They even booked the ship's musician to play during the ceremony. So not only did they book a $35,000 vacation on my card, they turned it into their second wedding and made me pay for it. I'm sitting in my apartment looking at all these charges, and I'm starting to see the bigger picture. This wasn't just about wanting a nice vacation. This was about putting on a show for the extended family. My parents wanted to look like the successful ones who could afford to treat everyone to luxury. And here's the thing about my extended family, they're not rich people. My uncle works at a factory. My aunt is a school teacher. My cousins are struggling to pay rent and student loans like everyone else our age. For them, a cruise like this would be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So when my parents announce that their successful son Owen is treating everyone to this amazing vacation, it makes them look like they raised a generous, wealthy kid who takes care of the family. It makes them look like they did something right, except they forgot one tiny detail, actually asking the generous, wealthy son if he wanted to pay for their fantasy. I took screenshots of everything, every charge, every confirmation email, every detail, because I had a feeling this was about to get very ugly, and I wanted evidence of exactly what they'd done. Then I did something I'd never done before in my life. I disputed every single charge, all $34,847 of it. My banking app has this fraud reporting feature, and I used it for everything. Boom, boom, boom. Fraud claim after fraud claim. My phone buzzed with confirmation texts for each dispute. We have received your fraud claim for $800. We have received your fraud claim for $1,200. It felt like I was launching missiles, and then I waited for the fireworks to start. My phone stayed quiet for about an hour. I figured they were probably still running around getting ready, packing their fancy new clothes, maybe grabbing dinner before their early morning flight, living it up on what they thought was my dime. Then around 7 p.m., my phone rings. Mom's contact picture pops up. She sounds annoyed right off the bat, like I'm supposed to drop everything and solve her problems. Apparently, the cruise line called about some issue with the payment. She wants me to call them and fix it because Dad is getting stressed about packing. I tell her there's no issue to fix. I explain that I disputed the charges because I never authorized them. The silence that follows is probably the longest 5 seconds of my life. Then she absolutely loses it, full nuclear meltdown mode. She's screaming about how they leave tomorrow morning, how the whole family is counting on this trip, how could I do this to them? I stay calm and remind her that maybe she should have asked before spending $35,000 of my money. That's when she hits me with the classic line, "Your money, Owen? You're our son. We shouldn't have to ask for help with something this important." There it was. She actually believed that being my parent gave her unlimited access to my bank account, like giving birth to me 28 years ago was some kind of lifetime investment that entitled her to everything I earned. The conversation goes exactly where you'd expect. She starts going on about how they raised me, fed me, clothed me, put me through school, how this is me giving back to the family that made me who I am. The classic guilt trip that every manipulative parent uses when they want something. I point out that raising me was literally their job as parents, not some favor they did for me. That doesn't go over well. My dad gets on the phone, and he's even worse. He's breathing heavy, trying not to explode, talking about how much work Mom put into planning this, how she's been coordinating schedules and organizing everything for months. Yeah, organizing a vacation with my money without telling me. What a saint. He starts going on about family money and how when the family needs something, we all pitch in. So I ask him where Carter's contribution is, where his contribution is. The silence tells me everything I need to know. Apparently, Carter gets a pass because he's still getting his business off the ground, and my parents are on fixed incomes. Fixed at zero, more like it, since neither of them work full-time anymore. My dad actually tries to Spider-Man quote me, saying, "With great success comes great responsibility." I wish I was making this up. My mom takes the phone back and starts begging. She's going on about how Ann already took time off work, how the cousins are excited, how Carter's girlfriend is finally going to meet the family, like somehow their poor planning is my emergency. When I point out that everyone will think they lied, she says, "We didn't lie. We told them our successful son was treating the family." The mental gymnastics here are Olympic level. In her mind, stealing my money and lying to people about it somehow isn't lying because reasons. She starts crying, those angry tears that manipulative people do when they're not getting their way, going on about how they just wanted to give everyone something special, how they wanted people to see that they raised good children. I tell her they could have done that by asking me first instead of stealing from me. That's when she drops the real bomb. "We didn't steal anything. We used money that you were going to give us anyway." I actually laugh at this one. When exactly was I going to give them $35,000? Her answer is priceless. For Christmas, for their anniversary, for helping Carter with his business, because apparently every small favor I'd done over the years added up to unlimited access to my savings account. My dad gets back on and threatens me, says, "If I don't fix this right now, I'm going to destroy the family." Mom already told everyone I'm paying. Cousins booked time off. Carter's been bragging to his girlfriend about how successful the family is. So somehow this is my fault because they lied to people. The logic is just stunning. He tells me that family comes first, that I'll just have to save less this year, like $35,000 is just pocket change I won't miss. When I explain that this is half my annual savings, he actually tells me that family is more important than money. Easy to say when it's not your money. The whole conversation is going in circles. They're never going to admit they did anything wrong. In their twisted minds, I'm the selfish one for not wanting to bankroll their fantasy vacation. They genuinely believe that my success belongs to the family, that everything I've worked for is somehow community property. When I tell them the charges are disputed and the trip is cancelled, Mom starts wailing in the background like someone died. Dad threatens that if I don't fix this, we're done, the family is done. I tell him if that's what it takes to stop them from stealing from me, then I guess we're done. And I hang up. The next 2 hours are insane. 17 missed calls and 12 voicemails. I don't listen to any of them right away because I figure they'll calm down and maybe realize how crazy they're being. But I'm not done yet. See, there's still the matter of my extended family. All these people who think I'm this generous guy treating everyone to an amazing vacation. They have no idea what's really happening behind the scenes, and I decide they deserve to know the truth. So I create the group text from hell. I open up a new message and start adding contacts. Every aunt, uncle, cousin, even my grandma who somehow got roped into this mess. 23 people total. I keep the message simple. "Hey everyone, just wanted to clarify. I never agreed to pay for this cruise. My parents used my credit card without permission. I filed fraud claims, and the trip is cancelled. Sorry for any confusion. Then I attached screenshots of some of the charges, not all of them because that would take forever, but enough to show the penthouse suites and VIP packages. I want them to see exactly what kind of fantasy vacation my parents were planning with my money. I hit send and immediately put my phone on silent. Then I sit back and watch the chaos unfold. The responses start coming in within minutes. My aunt is the first to reply, "I'm so confused. Your mom said you insisted on treating everyone." My uncle jumps in, "Owen, is this some kind of joke? We're supposed to leave in the morning." But the best response comes from my cousin Lisa, "Hold up. You're telling me they spent $35,000 without asking you? What is wrong with them?" The group chat explodes. People are confused, angry, taking sides. Some of them are mad at my parents for lying. Others are mad at me for ruining everyone's vacation. My grandma sends like 6 messages in a row asking what's happening because she doesn't understand technology. While this digital drama is unfolding, my phone starts buzzing with individual calls. I let them all go to voicemail because I'm not ready to deal with the extended family yet. I want to see how this plays out first. But around 9 p.m., things get interesting. My phone rings, and it's Carter. I almost don't answer, but curiosity gets the better of me. He's absolutely losing his mind. Apparently, he's been at his girlfriend Madison's place bragging about this amazing family cruise when the group text went out. Now she's asking questions he can't answer, and he's humiliated. Dude, what the hell? You just made me look like a complete idiot in front of Madison. I asked him if he knew about the charges on my card. Of course he did. He's been helping mom plan excursions and coordinate flights for weeks. He just assumed I was cool with it because that's what family does. That's what family does. There's that phrase again. Carter starts going off about how I embarrassed him, how Madison thinks our family is a bunch of liars now, how I ruined his chance to impress her with our successful family. The entitlement is just staggering. He's more upset about looking bad in front of his girlfriend than about the fact that his parents stole from me. But here's where it gets really good. Carter admits that he told Madison he was going to propose to her on the cruise. He had this whole plan to do it during the vow renewal ceremony. Now that's all ruined, and apparently it's my fault. I ask him why he didn't propose with his own money instead of mine. He gets all defensive and says he's saving up for a ring, but the cruise would have been the perfect romantic setting, like it's my job to provide the backdrop for his proposal. After I hang up on Carter, the real show starts around 10 p.m. I get a call from my uncle. He's at my parents' house with my aunt trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Apparently, my parents are having a complete breakdown. Mom is crying hysterically about how I've ruined their anniversary and humiliated them in front of the whole family. Dad is pacing around the house, calling me every name in the book. But here's the part that really gets me, they're still acting like victims. According to my uncle, they keep saying things like, "We just wanted to do something nice for the family, and Owen should want to help us celebrate our anniversary." My uncle asks me point blank if I really didn't know about the cruise. When I tell him the whole story, how they never asked, how I found out the day before when Mom mentioned forgetting to book my flight, he goes quiet for a long time. They really didn't tell you? Nope, not a word. And when I explain how much money we're talking about, he practically chokes. Apparently, my parents told everyone it was just a small cruise and that I was happy to help out. They never mentioned the penthouse suites or the VIP packages or the $35,000 price tag. My aunt gets on the phone, and she's furious, not at me, at my parents. She starts going off about how she took vacation days she couldn't afford to lose, how she bought new clothes for the trip, how she was so grateful that I was being generous. Oh, and honey, I need you to know that if we had known they didn't ask you, we never would have gone along with this. That actually makes me feel better. At least some of the family has common sense. But the night isn't over yet. Around 11 p.m., I start getting text messages from my parents, not calls, texts. Long rambling messages that get progressively more unhinged. The first one from Mom is all about how disappointed she is in me, how she never raised me to be so selfish, how I'm breaking her heart. She goes on about how they sacrificed so much for me and Carter, how they went without so I could have nice things growing up, which is funny because I remember growing up pretty middle class. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich either. The whole "we sacrificed everything" narrative is news to me. Dad's text is even worse. He calls me ungrateful and says I've always been jealous of the attention Carter gets, that I'm doing this to hurt them because I'm bitter about something. He actually accuses me of sabotaging their marriage because I can't stand to see them happy. The mental gymnastics here are Olympic level. Somehow me refusing to pay for their stolen vacation is actually an attack on their marriage because that makes sense. But the text that really gets to me comes from Carter around midnight. He's drunk, I can tell from the typos, And he's going off about how I've always thought I was better than the family, how I moved out and got my fancy job and forgot where I came from. You think you're so special with your computer job and your apartment? Well, guess what? We're still family whether you like it or not. And family helps family. The irony is thick. He's lecturing me about family while defending his parents for stealing from me. Meanwhile, the group chat is still going strong. My extended family is starting to figure out what really happened, and they're not happy. The best message comes from my cousin Lisa. Owen, I'm sorry this happened to you. What they did was theft, plain and simple. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for protecting yourself. Finally, someone with sense. Around 1 a.m., things escalate even further. I get a call from my neighbor who lives in the same apartment complex as me. She's calling to let me know that there are people banging on my door and shouting in the hallway. It's my parents and Carter. They drove 40 minutes to my apartment in the middle of the night to what? Yell at me some more? Force me to cancel their vacation? I tell her to call building security. I'm not dealing with this tonight or maybe ever. Security calls me 20 minutes later to let me know they've escorted my family off the property and told them not to come back without permission. Apparently, my dad was shouting something about ungrateful children and family loyalty. Mom was crying so hard she could barely stand up. The security guard asks if I want to file a report. I tell him not yet, but to document everything just in case. By 2 a.m., my phone finally stops buzzing. 17 more missed calls, 8 more voicemails, and about 30 text messages. I don't read any of them. I'm emotionally exhausted, and I have work in the morning. But as I'm getting ready for bed, I realize something. For the first time in years, I don't feel guilty about saying no to my family. I don't feel bad about protecting my money or my boundaries. They showed me exactly who they are tonight, and I finally believe them. I wake up the next morning to my phone showing 43 notifications. For a second, I forget what happened. Then it all comes rushing back. Today was supposed to be departure day for the cruise that never was. The first thing I do is check my bank account to make sure the fraud claims went through. Sure enough, all the disputed charges are showing as pending reversals. The $34,847 is coming back to me over the next few business days. That's a relief I didn't know I needed. Around 9 a.m., I get a call from my cousin Jake. He sounds exhausted, like he didn't sleep much either. Turns out he went over to my parents' house early this morning to check on them because he was worried about how they were handling everything. Dude, they're completely falling apart, he tells me. Your mom hasn't stopped crying since last night. She keeps saying her life is ruined and everyone will think they're con artists now. Part of me feels bad hearing this, but then Jake tells me the rest of the story. But here's the thing, Owen. They're still not taking responsibility. Your dad kept saying you overreacted, that you should have just called them instead of going nuclear. Your mom keeps talking about how ungrateful you are and how she wishes she never had children. And just like that, any sympathy I might have felt evaporates. They're still playing the victim card even after getting caught stealing from their own son. Jake also tells me that Carter never came home last night. Apparently, he's been staying at Madison's place, but she's been asking a lot of questions about the family dynamics, questions that Carter can't answer without making himself look bad. He's panicking because Madison comes from money. Jake explains her family is actually successful, and now she's seeing what our family is really like. He thinks she's going to dump him. Honestly, she probably should. If Carter's reaction to his parents stealing from me is to blame me for embarrassing him, then Madison deserves better. Around noon, I decide to check my work email, and I see something that makes my blood boil all over again. There's an email from my company's HR department asking me to call them about a family emergency that was reported on my behalf. I call HR immediately. Turns out my mother called the main company line this morning claiming to be my emergency contact and told them I was having a family crisis and might need some time off. She gave them this whole story about a medical emergency and financial stress. The HR lady sounds confused when I tell her there's no emergency and I don't need time off. Your mother seemed very upset, Owen. She said you were dealing with some serious family issues and might not be able to work effectively. I have to explain that my mother is not my emergency contact and has no authority to speak on my behalf. I also have to assure her that I'm fine and there's no crisis. It's embarrassing as hell, but I managed to get it sorted out. But this really shows me how far my parents are willing to go. They're now trying to interfere with my job because they're mad about the cruise situation. That's a line I never thought they'd cross. I immediately call my company's main line and speak to the receptionist who took my mom's call. I explain the situation and ask them to flag my file so that only I can make changes or report emergencies. The receptionist is really understanding about it, which makes me feel a little better. Later that afternoon, I get a text from Madison, yes, Carter's girlfriend. Apparently, she got my number from the extended family group chat and wanted to reach out directly. Hey, Owen, this is Madison. I hope it's okay that I'm texting you. Carter told me what happened with the cruise, but I wanted to hear your side of the story. We end up having a long text conversation where I explain everything. How I found out about the charges, how my parents never asked permission, how they've been telling people I was paying for it. Madison is shocked. I can't believe they would do that to their own son. She writes, Carter made it sound like you were just being dramatic about money. She tells me that Carter has been trying to spin this whole thing as me being jealous of the family's success and trying to sabotage their happiness. He's painting himself as the victim caught in the middle between his bitter brother and his heartbroken parents. But Madison is smarter than Carter gives her credit for. She's been asking pointed questions about the family finances, about how my parents could afford a $35,000 vacation, about why Carter doesn't have a steady job, questions that Carter apparently can't answer without looking like a mooch. I'm starting to see some red flags, she admits. If Carter thinks what your parents did was okay, what does that say about his values? Good question, Madison. Good question. As I'm getting ready for bed, I realize that this whole situation has shown me something important. For years, I've been enabling my parents' behavior by always bailing them out. I thought I was being a good son, but really, I was just teaching them that they could take advantage of me without consequences. Well, those days are over. They want to play games? I can play games too. And I'm a lot better at this than they think I am. 3 weeks have passed since the great cruise disaster of 2024. And let me tell you, the entertainment value hasn't stopped. My family is still completely losing their minds, and I'm honestly starting to enjoy watching it all unfold from a safe distance. The first major development happened about a week after the cruise fiasco. My parents, in their infinite wisdom, decided to show up at my workplace, not my apartment this time, my actual office building. Security called me around 2 p.m. to let me know there were 2 people in the lobby claiming to be my parents and demanding to see me. I told security I wasn't expecting any visitors and to please escort them out. But apparently my mom started crying in the lobby, making this whole scene about how I was destroying the family and how she just wanted to talk to her son. The security guard felt bad for her and called me again. I went downstairs just to make the embarrassment stop. There they were, looking like they hadn't slept in days. Mom's makeup was smudged from crying, and Dad looked like he wanted to punch someone, probably me. The conversation was exactly what you'd expect. More guilt trips about family loyalty, more accusations that I was being selfish and cruel. Dad kept saying I was tearing the family apart over money, like $35,000 is pocket change. But here's the thing that really got me. They brought a letter, a handwritten letter from my grandmother asking me to forgive my parents for their mistake and to remember that family is more important than money. My sweet elderly grandmother, who can barely work her flip phone, somehow wrote this perfectly crafted guilt trip. Yeah, right. They obviously wrote it themselves and forged her signature. The fact that they dragged my 82-year-old grandmother into their scam just shows how desperate they've become. I told them to leave and not come back. Security backed me up when Dad started getting aggressive. The whole thing was humiliating, but at least my coworkers got some good gossip out of it. That same week, I found out about Carter and Madison. Apparently, she dumped him 3 days after the cruise incident. According to my cousin Jake, who heard it from someone who heard it from someone else, Madison couldn't get past the whole family dynamic thing. Carter tried to convince her that I was the problem, that I was jealous and bitter and trying to sabotage the family's happiness. But Madison isn't stupid. She started asking questions about why Carter doesn't have a job, why he lives at home, why his parents don't have any money if their other son is so successful. The breaking point came when Carter asked her if she could lend him money for a business investment. Apparently, that was the final straw. She told him she couldn't be with someone who had such a messed up relationship with money and responsibility. Carter naturally blames me for this too. I got a series of texts from him calling me every name in the book and accusing me of poisoning Madison against him because clearly it's my fault that his girlfriend realized he's a 25-year-old man-child with no job and no prospects. But the real drama started about 2 weeks ago when I got a call from my credit monitoring service. Someone had tried to open a credit card in my name. The application was flagged because it came from an IP address that didn't match my usual location, and the phone number listed was my parents' landline. I immediately called the police and filed a report for identity theft. The officer who took my statement said, "This kind of thing is unfortunately common in family disputes. Parents who feel entitled to their adult children's money sometimes escalate to actual fraud when the easy access gets cut off. The investigation is ongoing, but I'm pretty sure I know who's behind it. My parents are desperate, and desperate people do desperate things. The funniest part of this whole thing is that my parents still think they can win me back. I got a birthday card last week, my birthday isn't for 3 months, with a note inside saying they miss me and just want to talk. The card was signed Love, Mom, and Dad, like nothing happened. They seem to think this is all just a temporary fight that will blow over if they wait long enough. They don't understand that they crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. They stole from me, lied about it, tried to manipulate me into paying for their fantasy, and then played victim when they got caught. I'm done being their safety net.
I'm done being their plan A, B, and C when their schemes fall apart.
I'm done feeling guilty for having boundaries. And honestly, I've never been happier.